Good morning, friends. So you can see it looks a lot different back here. I got my plants over here. This one has to go outside, so does this one. But for right now, they're in front of the door, and it gets a lot of sun, so that works. And then over here, this one has to go outside. All these, they have to go outside. But I have a new plant, and I got a story to tell you. But first, let's look at these. Aren't they? They're beautiful. And this moss, look at that. It's growing. It's absolutely beautiful, spongy. Look how spongy and soft. Absolutely gorgeous. The fogger is working great. You can see it's working right now. But absolutely gorgeous. These plants are absolutely loving life. And this one here is it's pretty good size. Look at that. They're pretty. Let's see, you can see down inside. And I got one back here. It's growing. But they seem to really enjoy this moss. Look at that. It's just kind of curled up inside. And the moss is growing up around it. And it really enjoys it. And then we have the aloe, which I'm not taking outside, and there's a reason for that. I'm not going to trust the weather to take care of my aloe plant. I've worked too hard to grow this thing, and this is the first time I've been able to grow it without it dying on me, and so it is not, and let me repeat, not going outside at all. And then I have string of hearts, and I'm trying to propagate. So, and you can see I've got it down here. It's kind of small, but you know what? Those little nodules on the long vine is actually what you propagate. So you put those in the soil, and then it's supposed to produce more string of hearts. And so that's what I'm doing. And then we have the mother-in-law's tongue, snake plant, and you can see it's all going up straight. Now the key to these is when they start to kind of curl. Now this one needs water. Yeah. But they like to dry out some, but the key to them is they curl when they need water. So you can see this one's starting to curl. And so I will be watering it today. But it's doing great. And you notice that it's not in front of the window. I have it kind of off to the side. It likes indirect sun, so it gets a little bit of light, but not enough. Plus I got light over top and stuff, so it does get enough light right here. And then we have our Droseras. Look how wild it is. Look at that. These are so gorgeous. And this is just full of Droseras all over the place. And I got a puppy right here, just kind of looking. So, but that's my Droseras, and they are doing so well. So how you take care of these is you get your special moss and perlite, or your soil, and then your perlite. And it's a special kind of soil. I think it's called stagum moss or something like that. Spagian moss. I think that's what it's called. And perlite. And then you wet it down really good with distilled water. And then you put your plants in it. And then you have a water down here. And these are bog plants, so they require always sitting in water. So you always have to make sure it's full of water. And again, it has to be distilled water. And I use the water from Culligan, and they deliver it, and I don't have to go to the store and buy gallons of water at a time. They deliver, and then I'm good. And as you can see, there's hardly any plants in here. The trees outside, you know, the other my pothos is outside, my spider plants are outside, so everything is outside. And so you can see right here, just I got a couple more things that need to go outside. These will stay inside where I can control their environment, and the Droseras will stay inside so I can control their environment. But there's nothing hanging up. There's no spider plants. There's no pothos. As you can see, they're all outside in the greenhouse. So I take them out of the greenhouse once it hits about 55 degrees, and then I put them for purposes because it doesn't stay at 55, 60 degrees at night. It gets down to about 40-ish, most nights, and that's too cold for them. But that is the update on my plants back here. Now I do have a new one, and I got some funnies to tell you. So I picked up some Venus flytraps at Lowe's. They had a lot of black leaves and stuff, black stems and all that. So I just clipped that off, and I used the sphagnum moss and perlite mix to take care of them. And they are a bog, so they're sitting in water. You can see right here, there's water in this. If I move it around, water in it, and they seem to be doing really well. And you can see there's new babies right here, and it's only been a week since I've gotten them, and I've gotten babies coming up. I got another baby right here. I have just babies coming up everywhere. So these are a little different. They like to hibernate. They like to go in the like a cold area, and their leaves will turn black and they'll look like they're dead. But you just leave them go. Do your research, be diligent about it. But I'm going to put mine in my refrigerator, and so that way it can hibernate through the winter months. And then in the spring, you bring it out, and it pops up new ones, and you're good. Now, the concept is, people think that Venus flytraps, when they turn black, they're dead. Well, it's not. They're just hibernating for the most part. Now, if it's in the middle of summer and they turn black, you got a problem. But if it's in the fall and winter months, then that's because they're hibernating. And people assume, like I said, that black leaves equals death. Well, kind of, sort of. But with these, they come up every year, just like a tulip. Every year, a tulip will die, and then come spring, a tulip will come back up. And that's basically what these guys do, in a sense. And like I said, they're really easy to care for. So my husband and I, we went to Lowe's, and here's the story, and it's really funny. I had it happen to me twice at Lowe's. We picked up 4 Venus flytraps, 2 big ones, 2 small ones. And believe it or not, once you took it apart, to replant them, they were about the same size as the small ones. Not very much bigger. Just more money. But, so the next time I'll just get the small ones and, deal with whatever. But we got all the ones that were there, and most of them had a lot of black leaves. Again, that's because, winter months, they were hibernating, and then they were coming back. Now, I didn't trust the soil, the mixture that they had it in, so I got some I had some sphagnum moss and some perlite, and I went ahead and did the mixture and put them in that, and as you can see, they're doing great. I did have some die off, which is okay. They were just probably shocked because of going into a new environment. But I had a Lowe's store manager ask me, why I bought these, because they just die off. Well, I explained to him that they don't just die off, that Venus flytraps hibernate, but they look like they die off. And he's like, really? And so I told him how to take care of it. So he said when the next batch comes in, he was going to get one. and try with what I described, how to do it. I actually had to get a piece of paper and a pen and write down directions. And then I told him to do YouTubes and, his research, his due diligence on how to keep them surviving. And so the only place that they grow is North Carolina, South Carolina, somewhere in that area. And so they're just a small little area for their environment and the environment outside. And so we went to the checkout, and this beautiful lady asked us, she just kind of looked at him and she looked at us, and, she gave that kind of weird look, like, I can't believe you're buying this. And I told her, I said, yeah, I want to take them home and take care of them. And she says, do they work? Well, yeah, they work. They're live. They are a live plant. And she says, well, all I see is them turning black. So I had to explain to her again, like I did to the manager, that what happens to them in the winter, late fall, early winter, through the winter, and then what happens in spring. And she says, oh my goodness. And I told her that, she said that she thought it was just like a novelty thing, and I'm like, no, these are live plants, and when they turn black in the late fall, they're going to sleep. And she's like, oh my goodness. So we thought it was kind of funny that someone thought that, that they were just a novelty item. And she asked us if the plants work. Well, yeah, they work. They get rid of your bugs. And but yes, they're a live plant. They're easy to take care of. And we were going to buy them from California Carnivores, but we decided to wait until they came into Lowe's, because these are just basically beginner Venus flytraps, kind of, sort of. They're not expensive. You really want to try not to kill them, but at the same time, you didn't spend $20, $30, $40 or more for a Venus flytrap. So, I think we spent maybe $20 on 4 of them, 4 containers of them. So if you're interested in this, get some sphagnum moss and some perlite, some distilled water. That's all you use. You don't use faucet water. You don't, nothing else but distilled. And wet it down, the sphagnum moss and the perlite down with the distilled water. And then you put it in your pot, and then you plant your plants. I usually just take the dirt off and let the roots, so you have to be really careful, because the roots are really fine, and like hair fine, maybe even thinner. And so you just be real careful, and then you put them down in the new stuff, and then you cover it up with some more moss, regular moss, like maybe, this moss, I'd really like to get a piece of it and grow it on these guys, but for right now, this is good enough. What I have right here. And then you put a light on it. It sits in a bowl. I think this bowl was like $2 and something. This one right here. And then this is a regular pot, and this is damp. It's wet, which is good for them. And you just keep this part full of water. You give them a drink every like 3-4 days, and that's it. Simple. They don't require a lot, but what they do require means that distilled water, they have to stay, they're a bog, so they have to stay in water, and sphagnum moss and perlite. And then you have a Venus flytrap. Now in the wintertime, and I'll go over that in a video when I go to put it to sleep, but in the wintertime, when it starts, they start to die off, you just cover them up. You put them in the, refrigerator, in the back of your refrigerator. Just don't forget it in the springtime. And then you bring them out, and, in springtime. And then the black will kind of, fall off, or you have to clip them. And then the new will come up, and then you have a Venus flytrap. Pretty simple. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, friend.